In circumstances that we find ourselves in today, it can be easy to forget that it is still probably the best time to be alive. Please go ahead and click the subscribe button. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we take things for granted, which people in previous generations would have died for, literally. Now, I know obviously I've made a lot of videos about the pandemic, the potential of World War III, end times prophecies, the NWO, and that kind of thing. It can get quite depressing. It can feel like, the world's falling apart, and there's a lot of anxiety and panic, which obviously there is around the world, and a lot of people feeling stressed and frustrated. But you really have to put things into perspective, and the best way to put things into perspective is to zoom out, is to obviously get out of your own head, is to take a look at what's happening around the world rather than just your own situation. Like, obviously there's still a lot of people around the world living in abject poverty. There's a lot of violence going on, there's a lot of pedophilia, there's a lot of sordid shit going on around the world, and it really isn't as bad as it might seem. Now, it could get worse, it could get better. Ultimately, we don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but it's important to put things into perspective, and not just with what's happening around the world right now. Like, I would recommend that you read history books, see the conditions that people were living in even 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Like, you've got to understand billions and billions, probably trillions of people have existed before you. So I know a lot of people like to compare today. One of the great problems that this society has is comparing themselves with other people. Well, instead of comparing yourself and your life to other people living now, take a moment to compare yourself and your life to people living in past generations and see how that makes you feel. Because legitimately, like, truly, kings and queens of old did not have access to the luxuries that you and I take for granted today. Like, this video in and of itself would have been completely mind-blowing to individuals just 50 years ago, just 100 years ago. Like, they would be completely blown to think that a technology like this exists. And so many of the basic things that we have, we take for complete granted. Like, just take the sewage system and the water system. Like, literally, we've all practically got toilets in our own home. Like, back in the day, do you know what people had to do to go to the toilet? And I'm talking about the rich class as well, not just the poor people. They didn't have toilets in their own houses. They had to go out in the field somewhere, take a dump, cover it up, and whatnot. There was no toilet paper, there was none of that. Literally, most of them had to use leaves or rocks or whatever. They had to carry water with them, and just the idea of it makes you laugh. But just imagine the type of inconvenience that actually is, and we take it completely for granted because we've never had to worry or think about it. And even our houses today, most of us have average, moderate houses, but they are still a lot better than the mud huts and the tents that past kings and queens used to live in. And today, like, literally, I can be sat in my own home and I can communicate with practically anyone from anywhere in the world. Back in the day, you would have to travel for weeks, months, years, go through a difficult journey, potentially risk death to communicate with somebody on the other side of the world. Today, you can just pick up a device, dial a number, and there you are, connected to somebody from the other side of the world. And not only that, you have the potential to reach hundreds, thousands, millions of people by staying at home. Kings and queens of the past would have died to have that kind of power. Just think about all the wars that were fought in the past for conquest, for power, for glory, for influence. And you could create more influence by just making videos online or growing an online social media following. Like, the richest and most powerful kings and queens of old would not have the amount of influence some of today's YouTubers and online personalities have. Just take a moment to think about that. And the other thing is, like, the access to information that we have is truly mind-blowing. Like, literally, there is nothing you cannot learn from just Google and YouTube. Like, literally, you can learn anything if you really desire it. You don't even have to pay for it. You literally just pick up the phone, spend the time doing the research, and you can learn something you know nothing about. And the recent example for me is, obviously, I have made the move from a PC to a Mac, and I've bought so many different things, so many different devices, this camera being one, this microphone, the stand. There are so many gadgets and so many pieces of technology that I now have, which a month ago I did not even know existed. And obviously I'm still learning, but everything I learned, how to connect it, how to use it, I learned from Google and from YouTube. Like literally I just watched video after video, how to set things up, how to best display them, how to put things together, how to make them work. And I did not have to leave my own home. I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to call anybody. I didn't have to wait around for anybody. I literally picked up my phone, watched the videos, did it myself, and learned how to do it. Now that's just one example. You could pick anything out there, absolutely anything, whether it's related to fitness, whether it's related to wealth, whether it's related to relationships. It really doesn't matter. You know, even if you want to learn a new musical instrument, whatever it is, you have the access to information and to learn knowledge at your fingertips, which once again I reiterate, kings and queens and rich people of old would have died for that kind of power, for that kind of access, for that kind of technology. So yes, there are crazy things happening, there are a lot of people struggling, but still try to put things into perspective. Now is still one of the best times, if not the best time, to be alive. You have so much power and influence and potential at your fingertips if only you take the time to appreciate it and to use it. So let me know what you think. How are you feeling about the current situation? How do you feel about most of these things which we take for granted? How are you using this technology? Are you using it to better yourself and to your benefit, or are you just mindlessly scrolling, feeding your mind with negative news, negative stories from around the world? What are your thoughts and feelings about this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.